Hello everyone, and welcome to chapter 50 of this Flutter course. In previous chapters, we've been working quite a lot with submitting our application for the iOS App Store using App Store Connect. And in this chapter, we're going to focus on doing the same thing, but for Google Play Store. So whereas you have App Store, and at the back of App Store, you have the App Store Connect, which allows you as a developer to go and interact with your product that's going to be submitted to the App Store. Google has something similar for your product, for your Android app, in this case, our Flutter application, to be available in the Google Play Store, which is where users download your applications. You as a developer will have to go to the Google Play console. So we're going to take care of that. And for that, we're going to create something called an app bundle, whereas if you remember when we created our iOS application, we went to Xcode and archived our application, and that created something called an XC archive file. And that was kind of like a zip file. And all your files were, all your binaries, at least all your like linked libraries, all your pods, the application itself binary was signed with your production certificate and profile. An app bundle for your Android devices as well is a signed bundle. So it is the equivalent of your XC archive kind of. And we're going to take care of that as well soon in this chapter. We have there's something that I actually prepared this, but I didn't want to mention it before because we were so close to actually releasing our iOS application. We have to make just some small adjustments to our code as well, as you'll soon see when we start, for instance, working with taking screenshots of our Android, of our Flutter app running on various Android devices. And that's a scrolling issue that we have generally on our screens where we display the keyboard. Those screens are login view, and I believe there's register view, and where else do we display keyboard? I believe we also login register forgot password view because we asked the user for her email address there as well. And also when you're, for instance, actually we don't have the problem on the edit notes view, so that's not a problem. So we have this problem in verify email view, login view, register view, and forgot password view. So actually, verify email view, you could argue that, yeah, it's not a problem. But so the issue that we have at the moment is that imagine that your application is being run on a very small screen, and then the user, for instance, has a very, very small screen, and then they're on the login view, and then we display the keyboard where, for instance, they tap on the email field and they try to write their email, and then the keyboard pops up, blocking like half the screen. And depending on the size of the screen, the rest of the half that is remaining might not actually be able to display the entire contents of your view. So this is a little bit of a problem, and we have to fix it, but it is so simple to fix. And you may then decide to say, well, the iOS application we've done already is sent to Apple. It's already accepted, and I'm going to release it. And you could definitely do that. So it's actually good practice. If you want to release your iOS application as is, just go ahead and do that. And then you can do a patch later and release another application to fix that issue. And I think the more you release applications, the better, because then you learn the process of updating things and sending release notes, etc. It's just good practice to do that quite often. So let's go ahead now and talk a little bit about the documentation for creating an app bundle. So I'll bring it up here, and it's, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, it's in distribute console, and there's a lot of documentation here that you can go and read more about it. So I thought just to explain like the Google Play console in here a little bit to you so that you can sign in here and then you can read more about all these topics. So I think it's just a good URL for you to bookmark if you want to be able to release your application in the future as well with Google Play Store. Otherwise, if you're like me and you sometimes just want to jump into things, you could start by logging into Google Play Console. So let me bring you to the next URL. As you can see, the URL is play.google.com/console/about. So I'm just going to say play.google.com/console/about, if I can spell. And that's our Google Play Console. Okay. And I'm just going to log in here with my user account, and I have this user account here which I can log in with. Let's see if I can log in successfully with that. All right. And then it says choose developer again. And if you haven't done this before, you may have to go and create a developer account first. But in the beginning of this chapter, we talked quite a lot about creating a developer account both for iOS and Android. So I'm assuming you've already done that. But if you haven't, you can go and create a developer account. It is free. You don't have to pay for anything. So just go ahead and create your developer account. So now here, I'm going to choose my developer account and just go in here. Okay. So here's my Google Play console. As you can see in here, this is the console URL for me at least. And what we need to do in here is to go ahead and create an app. So let's go ahead, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, let's go ahead and tap on create app in here. And now in here is asking us for some information. And I just saw that I have a little typo in my caption. So I'll bring the right caption up in here and you'll see that we have to go through these steps in order to create our application. All right. So I'm going to go in here and let's just say my awesome notes. The default language, let's just leave it as English US. And it asks you, is it an app or a game? Then we're going to say it's an application and it is a free application. And we're going to say it meets the developer policies and accept US export laws. Okay, and then we create the application. This may take some time. Okay, so what we need to do now is to go through app access in here. So I'm going to bring up the caption. So we need to go through, let's see if we can actually find the provide information about your app. And as you can see, it's right here. Provide information about your app and set up your store listing. Okay. So I'm going to have a look at that. And these are the things you have to go through. And we're actually going to go through this together in order to be able to create a listing for your application. So it's a good checklist basically. And I have to say, I mean, I'm more used to the App Store Connect interface. It's a little bit like less cluttered. I find Google Play Console a little bit more cluttered, to be honest with you. And things are just, there's so much in your face. But once you get used to it, I think you'll understand the purpose and then you'll just, as long as you know where to find things. So in the dashboard for your application, just scroll down to set up your app, provide information about your app and set up your store listing. And let's go to app access and set that up. Okay. And then here is asking us, okay, is there any restricted content? Then we're going to say all functionality is available without special access. Press the save button. And you can see, for instance, I saved it and now I have to manually go back to the dashboard. It could have just saved it and sent me back, but no, it doesn't do that. So app access is not crossed out, as you can see. All right. Let's go to the ads section. So for the ads, we're going to say, no, my app does not contain ads. Okay. Press the save button and then dashboard button. So that's for ads. And let's go ahead and take care of content rating. And this is kind of like what we have to do for App Store Connect as well, in order to, for instance, say our application doesn't contain violence, it doesn't contain mature content, etc. So let's go to content rating and say start questionnaire. And let's just fill in our email address. So in here, I'm just going to provide, if I can spell, support at Pixology. I have some problems right now. Support at pixologyab.se, and I believe, yeah, that's my website. So I think that's the email I've been using in App Store Connect as well. So let me also just double check that in my notes. So I'm going to bring this into a separate website. I want to check this in my website. And I think it is actually, so I'm not using this anymore. So it's just Pixology.se. And here you just have to enter your own email. So don't enter my email here. So this is in case they need to, as you can see, in case they need to contact you. So the category of our application, we say all other app types because it's not a game or a social or a communication application. So next, does the app contain any ratings relevant content downloaded as part of the app package, code, or assets? No. User content. Does the app natively allow users to interact or exchange content with other users through the voice communication text? No. Then let's say, Online content. Does the app feature or promote content that isn't part of the initial app download but can be accessed from the app? No. Promotion or sale of age-restricted products? No. Miscellaneous. Does the app share the user's current and precise physical location? Nope. Does the app allow users to purchase digital goods? No. Is the app a web browser or search engine? No. Is the app primarily a news or educational product? No. Okay, so we save this and we go to the next page, summary. And you can see it says rating authority in Brazil, all ages, PEGI 3. Everyone can use this application, rated for 3 plus. Not sure, to be honest with you, with that 3 plus. And then we could just say submit. All right. So that part is done. Seems like it. And then we can just go to our dashboard. Okay. And then let's go and take care of our target audience. And we say in here, we choose 13 to 15, 16 to 17, 18 and over can also use our application. Okay. And this is kind of like something you may decide on your own, whether like you must add a privacy policy. The target audience includes children under 13. And that's why we're not like targeting anybody under 13. And to be honest with you, you may say, oh, my app's only suitable for 18 and plus. And that's completely up to you. And you're more than welcome to do that. But I think our app is suitable even for 13 or even maybe less. But 13 is quite basically like the sweet spot, I would say. Because if you go lower than that, then you'll have to provide like your privacy policy for those specific targets. So we're not going to do that. And then we're going to press the next button and let's have a look in here. What's asking us to do? Appeal to children. Could your store listing unintentionally appear to children? And we say yes, because we may not want this app to be appearing for children, but it may appear nonetheless. So let's just say yes there. And in here, you can see the target group is 13 to 18. So that's great. Now we saved it and let's go back to our dashboard. And you can see here, target audience is also done. So let's go to the news section in here. News app. Is our app a news app? And we say no. All right. And then we save and go back and you can see that the news app stuff is done. So let's now have a look at this COVID-19 contact application. And we say, my app is not a publicly available COVID-19 contact tracing or status app. So save it. And we say, go back to dashboard. So that part of the application process is also done. Now we have to fill in the data safety stuff. So let's go through all of these and this might take some time, but that's okay. Does your app collect or share any of the required user data types? Required. Does your app collect or share any of the required user data types? What do they mean by required? Personal information. Yeah, we'll collect email addresses. So yes, of course. So let's just say yes. And let's remove that. Is all of the user data collected by your app encrypted in transit? Yes, and that's because we're using Firebase and that's using HTTPS, so that's encrypted in transit. Do you provide a way for users to request that their data is deleted? No, we don't do that. And I actually believe that it will be really good if you did that. So if you're curious about this and if you want to allow the user, for instance, to be able to do that, you could check that out and see how you can request their data to be deleted. You can create a separate view for that, for instance, and from there you can basically make an API call to Firebase and say delete this user. So you could do that if you want to. Okay, and I may actually provide a chapter for that. I don't know, but at the moment we say no. Data types. Okay, let's have a look in here. This may take quite a long time, so let's have a look. Data types, you must select any user data types are collected. Okay, we're not doing location, personal information. We're collecting email, personal identifier that relate to an identifiable person, for example, an account ID, account number, or account name. Yeah, personal identifiers. Yeah, definitely. And other personal info we're not collecting. So we only have a user ID and an email address, and that's it. And we're not even asking for their names. So financial info, no. Health, no. Messages. Let's see what messages entails in here. Where is it? Where do we go? Here, messages. Emails, no. Photos and videos, audio files, files and documents. Files and docs. A user's files or documents, or any information about a user's files or documents. For example, file names. Yes, because we're storing actually their files, their notes. So app activity, no. Contacts, calendar, no. Web browsing, no. App info and performance, no. Device or other identifiers, and no. So let's just then press next there and not started. So let's have a look at start this email process in here. And we say select all that apply. Is this data collected, shared, or both? It's only collected, okay? And data collected in this way must still be disclosed, but will not be shown to users on your store listing. Is this data processed ephemerally? Processed ephemerally means that the data is only stored in memory and is retained for no longer than necessary. So no, it is not stored only in the memory. So, and we say, is this data required for your application? And in this case, I believe that we're talking about email address, and yes, this data is required. So I'm just going to say, yes, it's required. Why is this user data collected? It's for app functionality. Okay. So, used for the setup and management of user accounts. Actually, yeah, account management. So let's just say account management. So, um, and then press the save button. So now we've submitted the email address and why we're using that. So let's go to personal identifiers now and start that process. So we say we are only collecting that. Because it's a user ID and we're not processing it ephemerally. I think that's how it's pronounced. And we say the data collection is required. And we say it is used for app functionality, okay? Because we're using the user identifier, remember, when we store their notes. So it's more for app functionality than it is for registration. So that's why we do that. And that is completed now. So let's go to files and docs and have a look at this process, files and docs, and say it is only collected, but it is not shared. Remember, we are not sharing the user's data, even though we added that sharing sheet for the user to share their own information with someone else. But then that is their choice. It's not something that we are doing. Okay. Is this data processed ephemerally? Then we say no. And again, I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation. And then is this data required for your app? And remember, we're talking about files and docs. Users can choose whether this data is collected, okay? Because it is not something that we force them to do, okay? And why is this data collected? Then we say it is for advertising, personalization, showing recommended, no. Account management, no. So it is app functionality, we would say. And we save it. And that's it. So after you've done that, we can just go to the next screen and have a look at this, how it looks like. You can actually read about all the information that you entered in here. So, and in here, you can see at the bottom of the screen, it says provide a link to your privacy policy. And I have already a privacy policy. So I believe I have it in privacy policy text. So I'm going to copy that and go to privacy policy in here, actually leave and discard stay. Um, so we may have to actually provide that privacy policy. I haven't yet done that, but we will have to do that on the privacy policy page. So yes, we need to actually do that. So let's go ahead to I actually don't run. Let's save this as draft and go here and then enter the privacy policy in here. And I'm just going to say HTTPS. Let's just make sure it's HTTPS, yes, and save that. Okay. Then I'm going to go back to the dashboard in here where we were for data safety. We were at the end of this. So let's go to next, next. At the bottom of this now, we have our privacy policy. So now we can save this and let's see if there's anything that we have to do in order to actually submit it. So it doesn't seem like it. So it is saved successfully. So if we go back to the dashboard and then have a look at our data safety, now we should be able to see that it is crossed out. So that's fantastic. So data safety is done. And now we have to have a look at this app category and provide contact details. Okay. So let's go in here to app category and we say it is an app. Its category, let's just say utilities. If one exists in here, let's just say it is a, what should we say? Communication, education, events, food, house, library, blah, blah, medical, news, personalization, productivity, perhaps. Okay. And then tags, let's just say, oh, this is horrendous. Okay. Let's just say notebook. Yeah, let's just keep that. Okay. And you can choose more tags if you want to. And after that is done, let's see store listing contact details and email address. I'm just going to say support at pixology.se phone number. And I'm going to enter some phone number in here. Okay, just a fake phone number for now. And https pixology.se external marketing. And you may choose to advertise your application outside of Google Play if you want to, and that's okay, perhaps. And before I save this, I'm going to bring the screen to another screen and actually enter my real phone number. Okay, so I'm going to do that here. Let's see if I can manage to do that. It doesn't really seem to like the fact that I dragged it to another screen. Now it likes it. Okay, so let me see. It really doesn't like that I'm dragging it to my iPad. So I'm gonna bring it to my Macintosh. Yes, and so all I'm doing in here is just to enter that information. So let me bring it up again, and then let's see if you can press the save button. Okay, so all I did is just move the screen to another physical screen, entered my real phone number, and that was it. So, oops, stay save. Your changes couldn't be saved. Why not? Let me go and see if I enter a valid. Oh, I entered my phone number incorrectly. So I'm just going to save it and scroll to the top of the screen, bring it back up, and then let's go to all apps. Okay. Oops. I want to go back to my app here. So in here, we're done with the select app category. So that's fantastic. Now it's the juicy part. We have to set up our store listing. So this is also actually going to be quite an important part of the setup process. So this may actually take some time, but that's okay. And we're going to take care of that in due time. So now we have to look at setting up our store listing. And the store listing is one of the absolute core components and the core things we have to do in order to be able to release our application. So let's go to set up your store listing in here. And let's put a short description and say store your notes securely. Okay, and a full description with this application. You can store your notes in the cloud. Okay, so and also I strongly suggest that you write some proper description for these things. And it is also very important, if you remember, that we use an icon for our application, and that icon we brought it from stock.io. So if we go in here, stock.io, and we use the sticky note icon. So it is important that in your store description in both iOS and Android, you just say app icon provided by, and just give some attribution to that. Okay, so it's very, very important that you read these things and also give attributions where attributions are due. So now we come to the application icon section, and you can see in here that it says the application icon should be 512 by 512. And we don't have that, unfortunately, at the moment. What we have is 1024 by 1024. So if we go back to our downloads, for instance, in here, you'll see that we downloaded our app icons in one of the earlier chapters, and we have this App Store image in here, which I believe is 1024 at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this file, Command D on my Macintosh. On Windows and Linux, you may have to do something else. And if you have, for instance, Paint plus plus, is it called Paint.net or something on Windows, you can also resize your image. But all you need to do is just in your host operating system, you need to make sure that this image is 512. So on the Mac, I'm just going to click on here. It open on a separate screen, and then I'm going to go to tools and say adjust size, and I'm just going to say it is 512. Okay, these are the guidelines. So in here, I'm just going to drop that file right there. Okay. Okay, so that's for your application icon. That's 512. Now, we also need it's a required field. As you can see, it is marked with an asterisk in here, and it's a future graphic. And future graphic is something that Google Play Store can sometimes use. For instance, if your application is featured on Play Store, and they are going to use this image in order to basically do an advertisement for your application. So there are guidelines for this, and it should be, you can see it should be 1024 by 500. And since we don't have that, we're going to use our application icon in order to create that future image. So what I think we should do is just to open Figma perhaps, And after our Figma document is open, what we can do in here is to go and create a little rectangle, which was 1024 by 500, I believe the guidelines were telling us to create it by. So 1024 by 500. So I'm going to select this rectangle and I say its width is 1024 by, and then the height is 500. And what I like to do is to go my trusty color palette, which is from Tokyo Night. Let's go to Tokyo Night in here on GitHub, as we've seen in the previous chapters. I'm going to go scroll down a little bit here and say that I want the editor background color. So it's 2428 3B. And then I'm going to copy that, close the tab, come here to Figma and change the fill color of this layer to that. So we're going to use this as our background. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to our downloads folder and grab that app icon PNG 1024, which we downloaded in one of the previous chapters. I'm going to bring it in here. It is huge. I'm going to hold down the shift key and then resize this proportionally. So kind of resize it to something like this. Okay. So I'm going to place it in the middle. Then I'm going to change the name of this to BG, change the name of this to icon by double clicking on it. And then I'm going to create a text field in here and say my awesome notes. And let's bring these into 3 separate lines like that. And let's also make sure that the fill color of this is white. Also ensure, as you can see, like mine, it is right aligned. Then I'm going to place it somewhere here, okay, in the middle as well. And perhaps we could even increase the size of the font. So let's see what we have here. We have Roboto 100, let's say 120. And it is a little bit bigger, a little bit bolder in your face kind of stuff. So, and this is our text. So this is our text. What I'm going to do in here then is I'm going to basically take these like BG icon and text and then duplicate this BG in here, because this is going to be our mask. I'm going to grab it and bring it at the bottom. Then I'm going to right click it and say use as mask. And now it has its own group. Then I'm going to grab all of these 3 layers and then drag them here. And now you can see that that mask is basically masking off this entire content. So it's masking off our icon as well. So it looks pretty good to me. It's kind of proportional. It's nice. So then you can click on this. And then in Figma, go to the bottom. So if I change the in here so you can see better perhaps, then scroll. So make sure your mask group is selected, then go to export, and then we're going to export it as 1x, and then that is exported now. So now we have our image looking like this, and it is 1024 by 500. So we can go to our Play Console, Google Play Console, and right where we have to throw this feature graphic, I'm going to go to downloads, and the image that we just downloaded, which is right here, I'm going to just drop it in there. So then that is working fine as well. I'm then going to save my changes, and something is wrong with our changes. Some languages have errors. Okay. That's probably because we haven't really uploaded any screenshots yet. And we're going to take care of that soon. So it is a little bit strange that it doesn't let me save my changes as a draft. I have to save this entire screen. And since I haven't entered some of the information in the screen which is required, it's not allowing me to actually save it. So, but we're going to take care of that soon. So what we need to do in here is to ensure that we're first running our latest application on the correct phone as well. So let's see in here. I'm going to bring our source code in here, and then I'm going to say select the device, and then I'm going to choose my Android phone. All right, so that's that. Then I'm going to actually grab my Android phone. Let's see if I can do it without causing too much problem here on the screen, like that. And authenticate it. Great. Make sure it is connected to Wi-Fi as well. Fantastic. So my Android phone is now set up, and let's then go ahead in our source code. Let me change some screen layout in here. In our source code, then I'm going to go to main Dart file, if I can spell Dart file. And in here, in our terminal, I have 2 terminals. So one I usually dedicate here to SCRCPY. So I'm just going to say SCRCPY, and that's going to bring up the Android phone up right there. And since we've selected that, we can now just say run without debugging. So the goal in here is to run the application on this particular Android phone and have strcpy take screenshots for us, as you'll soon see. So there is a really good command called ADB, and ADB is like the low-level Android debugger. And by using ADB, you can actually communicate with your, for instance, your emulators, Android emulators, and your Android phones, as we have here. So if you don't have ADB, you will actually have to install it. So if I say which ADB on my computer, you can see that it says it's homebrew bin ADB, basically telling you that I've installed ADB using homebrew. If you don't have ADB on your computer, you may need to install it if what you're also doing is following along with the steps that I'm providing you, meaning that you're trying to take a screenshot from an actual device that is connected to your computer. Okay, so I can see now that our application is running in strcpy looking like this. So what we could do is to issue the command as you saw. So let's just go ahead and say adb exec out screen cap p, and then we save it into, for instance, file1.png. And if I have a look in Visual Studio Code, you'll soon see now there is a file stored here, file1.png, and that is that file with the screenshot of our application. And then we can go to another screen, for instance, the I forgot my password screen in here. And we could also send our keyboard down, kind of look like this, and then we can issue another one, file2.png, so that's stored as well. Let's go to the registration screen and send the keyboard down, and then let's say file3.png, and also sending the keyboard down or up or leaving it up. It is a taste thing. It is completely up to you how you want to do it. Okay, so in here I'm gonna go here van.np and actually log in with a real user and go to the main screen of the application. Then I'm gonna take file4.png. And then I'm going to go to one of my notes in here with the keyboard up, perhaps in this case, and then say file5.png, okay? And then I'm going to say open. So I'll see all my PNG files in here. Then I'm going to take those files and bring them to desktop, so they're not polluting the workspace here in Visual Studio Code. Let's go back in here, and you can see that you can just drop 2 phone or tablet screenshots in there. So let's go ahead to my desktop folder where I stored all those screenshots and just drop all those images in here, okay? And I can see them populated here. I'm gonna grab the login screen and see if it can actually bring it first. And unfortunately here, it's not allowing me to drop things at the right order. So unfortunately I have to delete them and like drop them at the right order. So file1 first. And then I have to upload file2. So it is a little bit strange that it doesn't let me rearrange these images, but perhaps there is a functionality for that that I don't know about. So let's then say file4, and then we have to upload file5 as well. Okay, so that's there as well. Okay, so that's that. Then what we need to take care of now is to create a 5-inch tablet. And since I don't have a 5-inch tablet here sitting around as a physical device, then we have to go and create one. So if we look at here, Visual Studio Code, and go to Flutter Select Device, you'll see that there are various basic tablets that I've created with my device manager with Android Studio. So if you have Android Studio, you can always open it. And Android Studio, oh, it did open it anyway. So it's right here. You can always go, I believe, into AVD Manager, which is the virtual device manager, and then create your virtual device. As you can see, you need to create a 7-inch and a 10.1-inch tablet, because we're going to take screenshots with these. So what I'm going to do actually is to launch both of these tablets so that they're ready to go when we need them. So that's the first tablet, and I'm actually going to turn it around so it is in the portrait mode. So that's that one. And then I'm also going to ask AVD Manager here to run a second tablet in here. And that was extremely fast. I don't even know how it did that. How could it run this tablet so fast? A little bit scary, to be honest. So now that's sitting there. Let's see if it's going to do its work correctly, though. I can see the 7-inch tablet is not doing so well. Let's see if I can close it. And I'm going to say yes, close. So perhaps I should have, I'm going to shut this one down. And don't know if we're going to actually be better off first running the 7-inch tablet and see if that is successful. Maybe something happened in the processing of the 10-inch as well as the 7-inch. I don't really know. It is completely up to the device manager here. And I can see that this device isn't really doing so well. So I press the power button on it here, and I can see now it is running. So I'm going to press the home button. And orientation isn't really working so well here. So I can see that now maybe it's working a little bit better. So let's just leave it at that. So that's the 7-inch display, and it is up and running. Then what I'm going to do, the Flutter daemon has terminated. That's completely fine. Reload it. Then what we're going to do is to say select device in here. Flutter select device. And that's probably because the Flutter daemon actually crashed on us here. So I'm going to try one more time, and if it doesn't work, then I'm going to quit Visual Studio Code. So let me start Visual Studio Code fresh. Okay, now that Visual Studio started fresh, let's just try it again and say Flutter select device. And this time I'm going to choose a 7-inch Android tablet. Then I'm going to say run without debugging. So let's see if we're going to have any success running this application in this tablet. And if Grado build is working well for us today, then it's going to allow us to do that. Let's see, performing stream install, fail to install, launching application and SDK, Gphone 64, ARM 64. So there could be some problem with this Android tablet in here. So I'm going to close that. And I'm going to go back to Android Studio if I can find it somewhere here. Let's see, Android Studio. Okay, it's running now. And let's go in here. Then I'm going to go to AVD Manager, and let's have a look if we can close these and kill these two tablets completely, like that, like that. And while I'm at it, I'm also gonna kill this one, so I don't have any use for that. So I'm gonna create a new virtual device. Then I'm going to say, excuse me, a tablet that is next to 7 and 7-inch display, something like this. That is fine, and it's 1200 by 1920. So what is required here from us? It says it's 7-inch tablet screenshots. Okay, that's fantastic. So it doesn't have specific size requirements. And then I'm going to press next on S is absolutely fine. That is fine as well on portrait. And then I'm going to say finish. Then let's see if we can run this emulator on this computer. And if everything goes fine, we're going to see the welcome screen here. I can see Google's logo, so that's a great sign always. And I'm going to keep the screen here just in case. And while that is doing its work, we're going to go back to Flutter. And I can see the emulator is up now. And I'm going to say select device, and I'm going to choose it here. Let's then say run without debugging and see. Hopefully this time we have better luck in running that application in the given emulator. So let's see. Wow, that went really fast, actually. It went surprisingly fast. So now it's running in there, and I can see our application running in the emulator. So what we need to do in here is to actually take some screenshots. So what we need, you see here, actually, we all have to provide 7-inch tablet screenshots, and we also have to fix a 10-inch tablet screenshot. But what I want to mention is, depending on the size of the screen at the moment, you can see everything is working fine. There's not a problem. We can go to register screen. I also forgot my password, and all of these are working quite fine. However, we have a scrolling problem. And I can see in here that the 7-inch display, I've mentioned at the bottom of the screen that the 7-inch display could actually block the view. And that could be, for instance, because now, in this case, it's not actually blocking the view, but if you had a smaller screen, it could block the view in that this screen, as you can see, is not scrollable. So if you had a smaller screen, then this keyboard could pop on top of the content that you have in here blocking the content. So what we need to do before we start taking some screenshots from our Android tablet, let's go and fix these things up. Let's first go to our verify email view in our application. Oops, I pressed the launch button again by mistake. Sorry about that. I'm going to stop this. Let's go to verify email view, and you'll see in the code that the verify email view state at the moment is returning a scaffold, and it has a column. In order for this column to be vertically scrollable, all you have to do is just wrap it with a widget and just say single child scroll view, as the notes indicate at the bottom of the screen. Okay, so that's the scrolling done for that. Let's now go to the login view. So login view, and wrap the entire content in here in this column. And let's say wrap it with a widget. Okay, and I'm going to say single child scroll view, just like that. Okay. I'm going to change the screen layout a little bit so you see the code better. Let's then go to our register view as well. So register view, and on top of the screen, we have the scaffold and a column. So let's also in this column say wrap it with a widget of single child scroll view. All right. And last but not least, we're going to go to our forgot password view and have a look at how we're creating the screen. We have a scaffold padding column, just like a standard we've done in other places as well. Wrap with widget in a single child scroll view. All right, so that's that. Now that we've done that, we're actually ready to launch this application again. So select device, the Nexus, and then I'm going to say run without debugging. All right. So what we need to do now is to use ADB again, the low-level debugger for Android, but this time we want to take screenshots of an emulator. As you saw in the previous section when we talked about taking screenshots of an actual Android phone running in SCR-CPY, we had to use ADB as well, but we didn't have to tell it that it is an emulator. As you can see at the bottom of the screen now, if you specify an E flag to ADB, then that indicates to ADB that you want to take a screenshot of an emulator. Okay, so here's that device running, excuse me, our application. And what we need to do now is to go to command line, and let me just do some reshuffling of the screen. And this is our SCR-CPY, and I'm gonna just do some screen shuffling here. So get rid of this. Let's go to terminal. Okay, so let's issue the command as you can see at the bottom of the screen. So I'm gonna do like this and like that. So ADB exec out, but before that, I'm just gonna say -E and screen cap E, and then let's say file 1 PNG. All right, so and if I now go to the project structure, I can see there is a file called file1png, and it is a screenshot from our emulator. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna go to forgot my password screen, and let's get rid of the keyboard in here, and let's remove that space that I just entered, and then take the second screenshot as file2png. And then let's go to the login page and the register page, get rid of this keyboard. File3 PNG. Okay, so now that we have that, oops, I pressed the back button. I'm going to log into our application with my email address and our horrible password of foobar_baz. Now we're in the application. Let's take a fourth screenshot, call it file4 PNG. And in here, while this is up with the keyboard perhaps as well, let's see, and then take screenshot 5 or file 5 PNG. So now we have 5 screenshots from our 7-inch display as well. Let's, excuse me, let's go and collect those screenshots, file 1 to 5, and then I'm gonna delete the ones on desktop and just cut and paste the ones from our application. Then let's go to our Google Play console in here in the 7-inch display. I'm gonna drop these one by one. So drop the file 1 in here, and then let's drop file 2 right after that, and then we can say file 3, 4, and 5. So so that you know how I'm thinking about the ordering of the screenshots. Okay, so that's file 4, and then we have file 5 right there. And what we need to do is we need to basically do the same thing for a 10-inch display. As you can see here, it says 10-inch tablet screenshot. So let's go again Now we can close this emulator that is right there. Then we can go back to Android Studio. So if I can find Android Studio here, okay, let's go to AVD Manager. And in here, we're going to create a new virtual device. In this case, it's going to say tablet, and in a Nexus 10 is a 10-inch display. I'm going to press next, and then SDKS, that's fine as well. And just run it. Ooh, landscape. Not sure about that, but that may be fine, but you know what, I'm actually going to delete it and create a new one because we had some problem before with the landscape mode. So I'm going to say Nexus 10 again, next portrait, and then finish. Okay, so hopefully this starts it in the portrait mode. So then I'm going to press the play button right there, and unfortunately it started in the landscape mode, but that's okay. Hopefully we're going to be able to rotate it around, and I can see now it is running, hopefully. So like that. And we should see now the home screen. Let's see if we can rotate this. And unfortunately, it doesn't actually rotate. So I want to see if there's any properties in here that allows us to change the display from landscape to portrait. So snapshots, recording settings, enabled, lights, proxy, advanced, show window frame. Nope, nothing in there that allows us to change this device from directional pad. No, it doesn't change the display from landscape to portrait. And I am now basically trying anything I can. So even if I go to Chrome in here, for instance, and say no thanks, and then if I rotate this, I can see that it's unfortunately not rotating the actual application. So we might then have to take a screenshot in landscape mode. So let's see if we can actually do that. So if there's anybody out there who knows how to fix this issue, I'd be grateful to also know, because at the moment, even doing the command right and left, it's not listening to my commands. It's not basically rotating. So how about this icon? Well, that didn't help so much, to be honest with you. So it didn't really. I mean, I can go here and then here. Oh, now it's portrait. Okay, I did something. So I just clicked on a little icon on the top left after rotating. So it rotated to portrait. So that was just pure luck. Let's go to Visual Studio Code and say Command Shift P on a Macintosh or Control Shift P in Linux and Windows, and say Flutter select device. Choose our 10-inch display. Then I'm going to say run without debugging. And if everything's working correctly and Gradle's working in our favor, then the Gradle task is going to go by really fast. And I'm very grateful actually for that, to be honest. So Gradle is working a lot better now than Xcode build process. So here's our application displayed on a 10-inch display. And let's go ahead and start taking some screenshots. So I'm going to go to terminal here and then start taking screenshots of file 1 in the login view. Then let's go to forgot password and say file 2, and I'm going to get rid of the keyboard and take the screenshot without the keyboard. Going to go here to the register view, get rid of the keyboard, and then say file 3. So that's that. Let's now log in with a user like this and say foobar baz. Log in with that user. Oh, wrong credentials. Okay. Foobar baz. Log in. And after logging in, we're going to take another screenshot, which is our screenshot 4. And then we're going to take another screenshot with the keyboard for our file 5. All right, so that is also that. Then I'm going to open the current folder. I can see 5 screenshots in here. Go to my desktop, get rid of the old ones, and paste the new ones in there. Okay, now that we have those, we can clean and remove this emulator. We don't have it. And I'm also going to close AVD. I can see it's already closed. So let's go back to our Play Store in here. So Play Store console. So I'm going to upload this new PNG file, file 1, then file 2 for the 10-inch tablet. So all of these 5 screenshots are for the 10-inch tablet. 3. And then we're going to go to 4 here. And then last but not least, we're going to upload screenshot 5. And then right after the upload is done, I'm just going to delete all those files to keep my desktop clean. So after doing that, let's just then save this. And now you can see it says your changes have been saved. Fantastic. So now that is done, we need to create a release app. So if I just bring my notes up a little bit here, fantastic. So what we need to do, we need to have a look at a little URL here. As you can see at the bottom of the screen, it's called Docs Flutter Dev Deployment Android. It is a very important document in here that I strongly suggest anybody who's trying to create a release application to go through this. It has information for Windows and Macintosh and Linux users, and these commands are absolutely full of value. So you may have to Google these otherwise around, but this document has really put all of that together in the same place. So as you can see in here, the first thing that we need to do is to create a signing key for our application. And you need to follow these commands in here that have been created for you so you can see. And if I bring a terminal up, so if I say terminal and I'll bring it up here, and if I go to this folder .android on my computer like this, and I already have some keys as you can see in here. So I have some keys already set up, but in order for us to actually be able to follow along with this guide, we need to go and create these keys for us as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do, let's see if I can bring up the command for you, as you can see at the bottom of the screen. So I'm going to actually copy that command that I provided for you at the bottom of the screen. Okay, so and I'm going to go to terminal and let's just go to desktop, for instance, and then I'm going to issue that command exactly as you can see at the bottom of the screen. So let's see what happens in here. Now it says enter a key store password. So this is a password that you need to then provide inside a property file. I'll tell you soon about it. So remember this password. Up until this point for this course, we've been using foobar baz as a password. Is an absolutely horrible password. So please don't use that. But since we've used it consistently in this course, and since the password in this sense has no meaning for this course, I'm just going to say foobar baz, but please don't use a password as weak as that. So let's say foobar baz. And let's see what it said. Java IOXA key store was tampered with or password was incorrect. So this could perhaps be because I'm actually trying to create an upload key store like this, and I already have one from before. So what I'm going to do is to actually delete this file. So I'm going to say remove that file, okay? Upload key store like that. Then I'm going to issue this command again, and I'm going to say foobar baz and foobar baz. So if you've already had a key store from before, then you could just use it. But I'm assuming that you didn't have one. However, when I did issue this command, I already had one. So chances are you didn't have a key store from before, and you didn't have to delete it. But in my case, I actually had to delete it first and then issue the command that you can see in the caption at the bottom of the screen. So what is your first and last name? I'm just going to say Vandad Nahavandipur. Okay. Your organization unit, I'm just going to say development. And then name of your organization is Pixality AB. Okay. City or locality, I can just say Stockholm. Okay. And state or okay, Stockholm again. Let's say 2-letter country code. I'm going to say SE. And is saying, is it correct? Then I'm going to press the enter button. I've already entered all of that. Maybe I made a mistake in here. So let's just say, what was the question? Correct? No. Do I have to type yes? I'm just going to say yes. So you have to provide yes at the end of that. And then what does it say? Return if same as key store password. Yes, just enter. Okay, so now it's created a key store for us in here. You can see in the Android folder, upload key store JKS. Okay, so that's very, very important. Now that has been created, what we need to do is to have, if you had followed this, you can see that what we need to do now is to go to our Flutter project in here. You see, it says go to your Flutter project and go to the Android folder and create a file called key.properties. Okay, so let's go ahead and create that. So I'm going to open Visual Studio Code in here, and then I'm going to go to CD. Let's see where we are at the moment. We're in the root folder of our projects. Then the project, I'm going to go to the Android folder as it was suggested there, and then I'm going to create a new file as it was called here, key.properties. Okay, so key.properties like this, and then I'm going to paste that content that was mentioned here, as you can see, like that. So maybe the entire content. So I'm just going to paste it in here. Okay. So it says password for previous step from previous step. And we just said foobar bas like that. And the key password as well. And again, that is foobar bas. The key alias, we're going to leave it as upload. And in here, we're going to say the file was stored in, let's see if you can get the entire path for this. So it's right here. So I'm going to copy that path, and then I'm going to delete this information in here and then paste it right there. Okay. So that should be good to go. So I'm just going to double check in my notes as well that that is how we've done it before as well. And that seems to be completely fine. So then after doing that with an empty line at the end, I'm going to close this file and save its contents right there. So now if you go to the main folder of your application and say git status, then you should see that you have only these things basically committing to your project because your key properties are not going to be committed. Okay. So and that's why I'm mentioning here that you always need to make sure that that particular file is not going to be committed with your project into GitHub. So you could always go to your git ignore file and actually add that particular file to your ignore. So let's just say vim git ignore git ignore, and in here we're just going to add a new file and say any key.properties file should not be committed, and then we do a git status. Okay, and then our git ignore is changed. If you're paranoid like me, you will do it like I did. All right. So after doing that, what we need to do is to, in fact, create basically we have to update our build Gradle for signing. And I provide a link, which I'm going to go to myself. And let's see if I can find that link myself. Configure signing in Gradle, and that is right here. Here. And it is telling us exactly what to do. It says add the key store information from your properties file before the Android block. You see this Android block in here. So what we need to do is to go to this file in our project, Android app build Gradle. So Visual Studio Code, let's go to build.gradle in Android app. All right, so we're there. And what did it say? That we have to find this section, Android, you see? So let's find the Android block right there. It's just one, so right there. Then let's copy this text as it is mentioned there and paste it right before Android. Okay, boom. And I'm going to bring it one step back as well, so it is basically formatted correctly. Okay, so that's that part. And it says then load the key.properties file into the key store properties object, and that's what this guy is doing. Okay, then what we need to do is says find the build types block. So let's go ahead and find that. You can see the release. We're gonna basically edit that as well. So I'm gonna go to my notes as well, build Gradle. Sorry about that, just to ensure that I'm following all the steps correctly. And in here, it says release to do add your own signing config for the release build, signing with the debug key for now. So Flutter run release works. And it says then replace that with this. So you just have to grab this information here and just completely replace this build types with that thing that was provided. And I'm going to fix the indentation a little bit as well. So here, the key alias password are being read from the correct place. And then the release is signed with the release key in here. And that is it really. So you don't have to do so much more. And what we're going to do now is to, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, we're going to do some cleaning up of the build artifact. So in your project, you need to now go to terminal here, as you can see for on my screen. So I'm just going to go and say Flutter clean. Okay. So like that. All right. And we're then going to say Flutter pub get. All right. And after doing that, we're actually going to create our app bundle. So after doing Flutter pub get, then you have to issue Flutter build app bundle. So by issuing this command, you can see now it is going to start building your application with Gradle using all those properties that you've specified in those various files. So there was a lot of work that we had to do, but thankfully it's been documented so well that it makes the whole process so much easier. Had it not been for all those documentation bits and pieces, it would have been such a difficult process to go through. So let's just wait for this build Gradle process to now do its work. And all right, now you can see that the process has gone through. It has created our little app bundle, which is this AAB file. And what we need to do is to be able to then upload this app bundle to Google Play Store. So let's go back to our Play Store. And here I'm going to close this, close Figma. And let's now go back to our dashboard in here. And you can see my awesome notes. And let's see what we have going on in here. And what we need to do is to go to our production in here and then create a new release. Okay, so press the create new release in there, and you can see now it asks you to upload your app bundle. So what I'm going to do is to go back to Visual Studio Code and see where this file is located. So I'm going to open that folder, and I can see the AAB here, and I'm going to then drag it in here and place it there. Okay, so after this upload is done, it may take some time. I can see it's 25 megabytes, although I'm on a thousand line fiber optic network. In here, it's taking like a while to upload. I don't know really why. But in the release name, as you can see, it says that, well, this is not something that we actually share with anybody. So let's just say first, we call it first version. Okay. So, and in here for your release notes, you will basically copy from a previous release. Well, we don't have that. Let's in here just say the first version of our app. Okay. And then we can save this information. All right. So, excuse me. So now we have that. We have the first version in there. Okay. And that should be it. So let's just go to the review release in here, and we have one error. That's probably because we haven't provided the countries. Add at least one country or region, and that's fine. We're gonna add that. So let's go and see overview where we have to add these countries. If we can figure it out somehow, let's click in there. Android, okay, that is fine. And we need to go to under production and all the countries or release, as you can see in Google Play console under production. So I believe we're already under production. So if I click under production, now we can see countries and regions. So let's go in there and say add countries and regions. And I believe we could in here, hopefully select all countries. If you sell subscription, make sure you price for the countries. Well, can we not select? Oh yeah, I saw that if I click here, I can select all the countries. So let's do that and say add countries and regions, and then press the add button. Fantastic. Then we're going to go to our releases. And here we have this release. So let's go to the release dashboard. Okay, that's fine. And then I'm going to press the edit release and going to press the review release. Now that we've selected all those countries, we have one warning. The app bundle contains native code, and if you've not uploaded debug symbols, okay. And these debug symbols is something that I actually encourage you to go read about, because these are going to allow you to see whenever and if there is any crashes in your application occurring anywhere where your users are using your application. So I would really suggest that you do this and upload your debug symbols, although that's something that I believe is outside the scope of this course, but it should be quite straightforward for you to figure it out. And there's a link in here that you can read more about it. So now we can start the rollout to production and then say rollout. And you'll see now this is going to go in review, and Google console, like the Play console, could take some time to review the first version of your application. Some people said it takes upwards of a week, and for me, it's sometimes actually taking about 8-9 days. So depending on what you've done, like your track record from before, if you release any applications from before, you may actually be able to be placed somewhere first in the queue or maybe last. I don't know their processes. So and that was really it. That was like the releasing of our Android application, and we went through quite a lot, even Figma design in the middle of everything. So congratulations for going through this together with me. Since we've changed some code, let's go ahead and actually commit all our changes. So I'm going to say git status. and make sure that your properties file, the key properties file, is not added. So let's just say git add all, and then I'm going to say git commit step 31. And if you have a look at our logs, we have step 30 and 31. So let's push those changes to our remote. And then I'm going to say git tag also step 31. Okay. And git push tags. So that was it. Now you've released your application for iOS and Android. And um, this could perhaps be the last thing that you will learn about in this course right now, as it is if you're one of the early adopters of this course. But I'm planning on putting out a lot more videos that I'm going to append to this course with a lot more material. So stay tuned, and I may actually see you in the next chapter.